Another rant. The lawmakers that were expelled, the three that protested on the floor of the Tennessee um, Congress, that were expelled for pretty much the same thing Republicans have done for years. And they did it started it during the recess, and it ended up going for an hour. During a recess in Congress, they got a lawmaker on ABC News stating that what they did at that time was they took attention away from the family members and the victims of the crime. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. You Republicans are so full of BS. What they did was put attention onto the problem that allowed for those people to become victims. They put attention onto the gun laws that are so weak and poor right now that it allowed those children to be shot. It didn't take the attention away from the children who were shot. It put attention onto what shot and killed those children. The parents of those children were in the crowd also protesting. So those lawmakers who were expelled, the two black lawmakers that were expelled, were doing nothing more than what the people wanted them to do. Congress is the people's court, not the Republicans' court. Now the people are out there hollering for you to do something about gun laws. My suggestion is you stop complaining how these protesters are taking the attention away from the victims and start looking at taking away the guns from the perpetrators. There is absolutely no reason for an assault weapon in today's society. Now, if Russia decides to come over and invade America, then by all means hand every single solitary citizen you can that will fight for this land an AR-15 or whatever gun in the same realm you want to hand them. Doesn't matter, hand it to them. But we don't have anybody here on American soil attacking our American citizens in an act of war. We have our own citizens committing an act of war against our children, our schools, our churches, our parks, our theaters, our concerts, our parades, our grocery stores, our malls, our city streets. That's the only people committing an act of war on American soil. Now, if you don't give them the right to own that AR-15, they can no longer commit an act of war on our soil. And if you have background checks and you keep guns out of their hands, then they can no longer commit an act of war on our soil. Because that's exactly what these terrorists with guns are doing in our schools and all the other public places we have. They're committing an act of war against our American government that is supposed to be a democracy. You can say our forefathers set up our government as a republic, but it's a republic democracy. It is not a republic autocracy. It is a democracy. And the majority of Americans and even American hunters want AR-15s banned. That would be a democracy. But you Republicans are not listening. You Democrats aren't getting up off your, and independents aren't getting up off of your ass and voting these idiots out of office. Partly because you think it's more important that they ban abortions and a woman's right to make a choice for her own body. It's more important to keep that baby in the womb alive, whether it's a parasite placed there by a rapist or a molester, whether that child is working on killing her mother or not, or whether or not that child is going to be born with some birth defect that will cost the parents so much money they could not afford it, so they give up their parental rights to the government and costing the government money. Doesn't matter to you. Gotta save that baby. But after that baby is born, hey, no problem. Let's starve that baby. Let's allow some idiot out there with an AR-15 or a handgun or a rifle to shoot that baby. Because that gun is far more important. That abortion rights is far more important. You people are idiots. You're a bunch of idiots. You want to codify abortion into congressional law in your state and in the federal government, then you need to start voting for candidates who will do that. Not ones that get up on a stump and say, I'm for your right to abortion, but then get into office and vote against every measure that gives a woman a right to an abortion. Stop paying attention to this. Because if Ron DeSantis proved anything, those motherfuckers can lie like you cannot believe. Democrats do it too. Not as bad, but they do it. Start looking up, go to Google, and go voting history. And put your candidate's name up there. And it will show you the voting history on every bill they have voted on. It'll show you their full-fledged voting history. And then, if it says a bill's name and you're not quite sure what that bill is about, click the name of that bill. You will get, first of all, the full bill, but more importantly, the summary of that bill. In the summary of that bill, it will tell you where the stance and what it is trying to do on subjects like abortion, gun bans, food subsidies, subsidies for the rich, whatever it is they're trying to pass. It will give you a general basis of what it is supposed to do. If you want an in-depth look at what the law will do, on where there's workarounds for that law, you go into the full reading of the law. You don't need to just go to the summary, you need to go to the full reading of the law. Most people don't have that time. But you do have the time to look at the summary. So stop listening to what is coming out of the candidate's mouth and start paying attention to how they voted on a bill. And start looking at the summaries of those bills. Now, if a politician votes yes on a bill, that means that is a policy they are willing to stand on the hill on and die on that hill as well, whether it gets them elected out of office or keeps them in office. That is a policy they are willing. The same thing if they vote no. They're willing to stand on that policy and live or die with it. If they vote absent or present, that means they feel one way or the other, but that they're too much of a fracking coward to live or die on that belief. They're taking the safe road. Those are the politicians we don't need. We need politicians that are going to either stand on what is right or wrong or die on what is right or wrong. But these taking the safe road people don't cut it. Just like Sanders saying, oh, I'm for LGBTQ rights. I'm all for it. But then, when a bill came up in May to be voted on, to be passed, to give LGBTQ people rights, what did Sanders just do? Did he vote no on it? No. Did he vote yes on it? No. He voted either absent or present on it. And that allowed the bill to not pass. Because he was too much of a coward to stand on his principles. Sanders has always been a coward. From the first time he's run for office, he has always been a coward. And his political history will die as him being a coward. It's just too many of you people are listening to this and not paying attention to what the facts are. Get out there, start doing your research, and start paying attention. And no party, whether it's Democrat, Independent, Republican, Tea Party, I don't give a crap what party a person is belonging to. That party is not more important than the policies these candidates and these politicians vote on. Nothing is more important than that. Start paying attention. You want to codify abortion into law? Then you need to vote into Congress the people who will vote to have abortion put into the Constitution. And you need 2/3 of Congress to achieve that. Whether it's state Congress or federal Congress, you need 2/3 to accomplish that. You want a ban on AR-15s? Then you need to have the numbers in Congress to vote on that. If you don't have that, and if you do not have the history of the candidates you are voting for, then you might as well forget it. You will never get anything accomplished. Period. Haven't we been in a stalemate long enough ever since a black man got voted in as president and Mitch McConnell stood there before he even stepped one foot in office and made this statement, oh, I will do everything I can to make him a failed president. He didn't even need to look at what Obama could accomplish. All he needed to do is see that that man was black. He was an uppity Negro getting into presidential office, and McConnell could not stand them. It's bullshit. And many of the Republicans feel that way. That is why 2 black Congress members in Tennessee got voted out of office while the white Congress members stood in. Because the 2 uppity black congressmen stood on the Congress floor and protested like many Republicans have in the past. Stop listening to their BS. They did not take the attention off the victims of that shooting. They drew the attention to what caused that shooting. more addressing the problems that cause them children to be victims than addressing the will of the NRA.